Tag, you're it.
If you want my love, you're gonna have to try a lot harder. Cause if that's all you got, you better find another guy who's not so tough.
Based on the true story of 30-year-old game of tag, we have 4 friends who all band together to attempt to tag Jeremy Renner, who is their one friend who is so good at the game of tag, he cannot be tagged. Not once. Their plan is to catch Jeremy Renner on his wedding day, which is the last 3 days of May, which is important because they only play the game during the month of May. And one of them claims that Jeremy Renner's quitting after this year, so it's essentially their last chance to get him. Shenanigans and comedy ensue. Before you explain why you actually like this movie, I just want to make clear to people that your taste in comedy and mine couldn't be further apart from each other. I mean, this is shown through... You showed me Beer Fest one time, and you knew I was having a miserable time, and so what do? You turn down the volume and you start to recite the movie line for line. Let me make clear, this was his attempt to make me feel better. Or like when you showed me Archer for the first time and I asked, is this gonna be all a bunch of sex jokes? And you're like, no way, we watch it. This is all a bunch of sex jokes. And you're like, I know, isn't this great? Or like when we walked out of Disaster Artist and I said, man, I'm sick of seeing The Room like 50,000 times over, and you, unironically, not even trying to be a dick, tell me, man, we should see more Room stuff. You know what? No, it all makes sense now.
And it all makes sense now. Yes, it all makes sense now.
You love repetition. You love seeing the same shit over and over again, ad nauseum. That coupled with all the crude humor that you just cannot get enough of. You thrive on these movies' lack of any kind of intelligence and these characters' stupidity. I say characters, but they're really just celebrities trying to struggle to come up with funny shit to say. You are the audience for this movie, and you are the reason comedy is dead in American cinema.
It all makes sense.
You done?
Yes, I'm done.
You done, boy?
Mm-hmm.
It was okay. It was very, very hit and miss, because he wasn't wrong. There are a lot of bits in this movie that are very repetitive, and oddly enough, they're repetitive with some of the actual good elements that we'll talk about later. But for what it was worth, I thought some of it was actually pretty funny, i.e. some of the stuff surrounding Jeremy Renner, some of the stuff surrounding just the premise in general, and some of the supposed action scenes are actually entertaining, and that for a comedy there actually are some pretty good visuals and actual decent effects thrown into the mix. But yeah, it does get very repetitive, and some of it actually does get really annoying, especially with 2 of the lead 5 essentially. But again, for what it's worth, I thought it was alright. Not awful, but it could definitely use work.
It could use a lot of work. This is just another bad modern comedy. It suffers from all the same stuff. There is no script. The characters are all not even really characters. They're just actors and celebrities struggling to come up with funny shit to say. And it takes an otherwise somewhat silly and interesting premise and turns it stupid. Turns it into something you don't give a shit about. Save for the very end where it tries to throw on something, but we'll talk about that in the spoiler section. But seriously, there is nothing really to like about this movie, with the exception of Jeremy Renner.
Your boy, Jeremy fucking Renner.
I like Jeremy Renner, and I think the only reason he works as well as he does in this movie is because he's actually a funny guy in real life. If you listen to him in interviews, if you see him in other things, he really is just playing himself here, and for that I liked him. But even in the context of the movie, he's the only part that has any kind of interest, any kind of actual, gets a chuckle out of me here and there. One of the things is when they're attempting to tag him, they go into this Sherlock Holmes style, like him analyzing the whole situation around him saying exactly what his opponents are gonna do and how he's gonna respond to it. And it's funny at first, except they do it 3 more fucking times. And it stops being funny at that point because repetition all the way. This is why you need a goddamn script.
Yes, I would. Well, okay. I would agree that it's absolutely repetitive. But what they actually are repeating, for me at least, is still something that works. Jeremy Renner is one of the absolute best parts of this movie, and for me, that's what makes him work in the repetitive sections of his basically self-defense during the tag modes. And this actually feels like a video game once you think about it, because with the player being Jeremy Renner, and it feels like quick time events, like if you were to do God of War, like to throw this donut, click A. Well, damn it, they don't even use A.
What kind of God of War are you playing where you throw donuts?
A very different kind of God of War. Regardless,
okay.
When Jeremy Renner is on screen, you actually want to smile, you actually want to laugh at everything he says as well as does, because this guy is actually pretty fucking maniacal, which some of that will be explored later, but he plots up these scenarios that are just ridiculous, and he actually goes so far into detail with the planning that literally every single time that he tries to get tagged, he defeats it unbelievably easily. And that led me to just, make the comparison with you, that he is basically playing the same character that he did in The Bourne Legacy.
Who the hell is he?
He's an outcome agent.
Sorta, kinda. He's basically an action hero in this movie, but he doesn't necessarily save the movie. He just makes it more enjoyable.
Okay, I can definitely see where that comes from as well. And they also give Renner this incredibly mystical premise. They actually make him seem like this incredibly mysterious person, but that is sort of a downside considering that later on in the movie we find out details about him that are actually essential to his character. But they don't go into any detail about it. They provide a detail, but they don't provide reason for the detail.
They don't give anything about any characters in this movie, because there are no characters in this movie. It's all just a bunch of freaking actors.
Renner being an alcoholic, as well as him saying, "Oh, I tried to distance myself from you guys by this game. You should have been up there with me because you're my bros, you're my buddies."
Nothing truly matters in this movie. That's the problem. In most comedies nowadays, nothing matters because oddly enough, a comedy that relies too much on comedy doesn't work because then you have no reason to care. And should we talk about the characters?
Absolutely, we should talk about the characters because
I say characters, but really it's more just the actors.
Yeah, basically the 4 other guys are played by John Hamm, Ed Helms, Hannibal Buress, and I forgot the name of the 4th guy, but he's one of the guys from New Girl. I'm pretty sure that's the title of the show. But yeah, them together, okay. Half of it works, half of it's awful. For me at least, because I actually thought that they had chemistry. For me, seeing them on screen and interacting off of one another, I actually felt that this would legitimately be a group of friends that would hang out with each other. I felt that they actually did have that they did worked well off of each other, as well as did show some sort of brotherhood, I guess. But that's what I liked about them. But only 2 out of those 4 I felt were actually good. Hamm and Helms. The other 2 are awful. And
you have your basic stoner prick.
I hate this guy. I hate him, because he is not what stoners are. Period. Stoners don't walk around everywhere they go with a goddamn joint hanging out of their mouth.
Especially not smoking CGI smoke.
Exactly.
Which, who the hell are they kidding? He works in Hollywood. Guy already smokes.
Exactly. Hollywood, drugs, yeah. But also Hannibal Buress, he's still just this laid back, like quiet kind of guy where his shtick is only that he's mildly reacting to stuff that happens around him.
He's token black guy. He adds nothing to the movie.
Token Black Productions. South Park reference for all of you who are paying attention.
None of it works for me because none of them feel like even characters. Nobody goes through any arc. Nobody really has anything to say outside of just, they're just joke dispensers. They're not even really characters.
The only time that they try and build an arc is with a disposable chick. Because the girl that the Stoner and John Hamm have had, been tossing back and forth like a game of tennis.
You think if they were actually friends and you had any brain in their head, they'd say, wow, you're a whore. We'll find somebody else. But going back and forth and they acted this like children.
You're it, Bert.
What do you mean I'm it?
We see, that's the game. I just tagged you, and you're it until you tag somebody else.
No, I'm not playing a game. I'm reading, Ernie, and I'm not it.
Okay. But Bert is it.
Ernie, I'm not it.
Yes, you are, Bert. You're it, Bert.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are, Bert. Bert's it. You're it, Bert.
I got you. I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. Ernie, I'm gonna get you.
You're it, Bert.
Why are you acting like children?
Not even kidding. They don't do anything with that chick that they throw into the mix.
She's only brought in. Jeremy Renner obviously brings her in to throw the other characters off and create a distraction so that he can escape being tagged.
So her being one of the only female characters in this. Oh yeah, by the way, the female journalist, not the male journalist who actually wrote the article about these guys, follows them everywhere they go. And, originally she's there to interview Ham because he, annoyingly early on explains, you're the owner of a Fortune 800 company and you're gonna give the best damn interview in the world. Yeah, she interviews him for that, but then she overhears, from Helms trying to tag him that, oh my god, this is a 30-year game of tag that you guys have been playing forever? Oh my god, that's a way more interesting story. Really?
That's apparently how journalism works.
Well, she later says in the movie, this is why print journalism is in the shitter. But they go a lot for the same, style of comedy as well. The banter, the bicker,
character says something stupid and they say, what? And then they re-explain it and they're like, why didn't you just say that from the beginning? They do that 20 times in this fucking movie. There's 5 jokes on a loop. That's what I mean when I say you're the audience for this movie. You love repetition, don't you?
It can be used in reasonable doses. But this movie did it too much. Even I recognize that. Ugh, I heard my neck crack.
You want to talk about some spoilers?
Why the hell not?
Because this game of tag means nothing. I mean, really, it means nothing. It does not do a very good job of drawing you in and making you care.
Even though supposedly the guys are saying this is the game that keeps us together for 30 years. It's what keeps us us tagging each other keeps us together. It keeps us one. It keeps everything, the sun, the moon, and the rain all in unison. Yeah, they really ham it up how meaningful and important this game is.
You don't stop playing because you grow old. You grow old because you stop playing.
They use that phrase 3 or 4 times in this.
Yep. Well, how do they make it more meaningful? They add cancer to the mix. Yeah.
Yay!
Ed Helms' character has cancer.
He's got a tumor on his liver the size of his nut. That's how he says it.
So the way they tag Jeremy Renner is it's his dying wish, essentially.
Because it's the ticking minutes to the end of May. He's not gonna make it a year, which that very well could be a lie. We have no goddamn idea.
It would have been better if it was a lie, because earlier in this movie, Jeremy Renner really pulls a shithead move when he fakes a miscarriage, yes, really, to get out of being tagged.
And his wife, well, soon-to-be wife, is in on it.
At that point,
fucked up much?
That's not even funny. That's just shitty. That's a shitty shit move.
We were in the theater, and even I, the person who, like, tries to forgive stuff, even I was doing, like, you're honestly not gonna do this. You did it.
So it would have been a great, revenge to say, oh yeah, I faked dying so I could tag you.
That would have been hilarious.
Yeah, but no, he supposedly really is dying. So he does get tagged, and then everything's right with the world, I guess.
It's a cheesy 80s sitcom ending where, oh yeah, I'm gonna tag you now. Well, yeah, they guilt Jeremy Renner into tagging, like, yeah, he gives in. Oh, I got you, blah, 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 blah. Well, there's only a few minutes left, you're in, and they chase each other around the goddamn hospital. And yeah, since Renner got tagged, now they're gonna change other things about the game too. Oh yeah, they already had predetermined rules before this point anyway. And the one rule they change is girls are allowed to play.
Ed Helms has his wife follow him around the whole movie on a leash, essentially, and her joke is that she's so crazy and that she's so into the game despite the fact that she's not even playing it. They say, okay, now you can play too, and okay.
Oh my god, thanks! My husband's gonna die, but I can play now!
You don't give a fuck that my husband's currently dying. At least I can play tag now, so I'm probably going to outlive you in this stupid game.
But yeah, also, the game that they play that supposedly has no rules has a lot of rules in it. They only play it during 1 month. You're only allowed to, like, do it within certain parameters. And also, well, they have to make an amendment based off of the request of Renner's fiance that they don't do it during specific times of the wedding weekend. It gets really complicated.
It makes no sense. God, I hated this movie.
Well, yeah, obviously, there was a lot that didn't work about this, but I've seen a lot worse, and, well, I've seen worse this year, but, yeah, I probably wouldn't watch it again, but I thought it was okay. Again, if this is your kind of, well, if you're allowed to be able to just breathe in chemistry and block out all the stupid shit, this will be fine.
Well, if you're like this guy and you like repetitious pieces of shit, you're probably going to enjoy it. But if you're like me, who misses things like a script, characters, a point, you're probably not going to like it. Sorry.
You're it!
Son of a bitch!
If you want my love, you're gonna have to try a lot harder. 'Cause if that's all you got, you'd better find another guy who's not so tight.